everyone, and welcome to this first webinar for COS 2611 in 2026. It's so late in the year already. A lot of you have already been active and asking questions, and that is great. I wish that you should continue, but the year module has actually only opened now for real in April, and that is why we have our first webinar now. So I hope that you will find it useful, and that the information that I share with you, that you can use it afterwards. You're as always welcome to email me afterwards if you've got any questions. I see that Caitlin has an issue. She says her for some reason it keeps disconnecting her from listening. She cannot hear anything. I hope the others are okay, but the session will be recorded, and you're welcome to go and watch the recording afterwards as well. So at the bottom, if you haven't used Big Blue Button, it is my first time as well. So I hope everything works well, and that we don't have any issues. But here at the bottom of your screen, you'll see there are 4 buttons. The one is your mic, should you wish to speak to me sometime. The one next to it is to share your webcam, but please don't do it unless we really have to, because it does take up some of the bandwidth. And next to it is share your screen. I don't think that one has been activated for you. But then on the right hand side, there's the reaction bar. It works in a similar way than MS Teams. If you click on it, you've got different options of a smiling, you're dissatisfied, a thumbs up, a thumbs down, clapping, or raise your hand. So should you wish me to stop somewhere and ask a question, then just put up your hand. And I'm not exactly sure how I will see it, but I will try and monitor it here on the left hand side to see what's happening in everyone's space. And then of course you've got the public chat. The public chat is where you can send a message. I will try and see if I can monitor that as well. Should something come up that is that I really have to address, then just put it there for me in the chat. I see somebody else has an issue again with the slides. The slides, what I have done with the slides as well is I have uploaded it into the additional resources. So you're also welcome afterwards to just go and have a look at it. And so it's there that you can use it. And then of course you'll have the recording as well. So if you haven't met me before, my name is Dr. Ronel van der Merwe. I have been with the School of Computing for many, many years, and that is my email address. And I hope that by now you have watched the welcome video. If you haven't, then please do so, because there I show you what process you should follow should you wish to email me. I prefer emailing me, or then of course, as I've shown in the videos, there is the discussion forum that you can always put a discussion on, but I don't go there every day. So if there's really a pressing matter, then rather email me and I'll respond to it. Or you can say to me that, there's something that you would like to discuss in the class, or there's something that everybody should have knowledge of. And then I'll go back to the discussion group and then maybe just add that as a topic. So those are the 2 preferred ways. There is, of course, the way that you can telephone me, and my contact details are on the Moodle welcome page, but it's just very difficult. We often do not receive a notification that somebody is trying to phone us. So I would prefer this way. Oh yeah, and then just remember, you must use your MyLife email account. If you email me from any other email, Gmail, Yahoo, or whatever, I'm first of all most probably not going to receive it, and secondly, I'm not going to respond to that email. So if you want to use a Gmail account, then at least CC yourself, your My UNISA email address in the CC. Then I most probably will be able to pick it up. Then I don't know if you've noticed on the My UNISA main page, I've added a link to Introduction to AI through MLE, the Microsoft Learning Environment. I have joined them last week, I think. I just want to see there's somebody's voice, chat mic on. Just make sure that your chats are off. Mics are off. Okay, but anyway, I've attended the Microsoft Learning Environment, I think last week for 2 days. It was more on Copilot, but anyway, they've got some excellent training material that is been made available to you through your MyLife email account. So I have created the links directly in the Microsoft page. And you can just, if you go onto the Moodle team, you can just click on those links and it will take you to the different lessons. There are more, but I think these are the ones in terms of AI that I think is fundamental and will give you some background. As we progress in the year, I will have a class with you on prompting or prompt engineering. And I think that will be useful, and we're going to play around with that as well in the year. It's not part of the official curriculum, but I did it last year and the students really appreciated it. I learned a lot and they learned a lot, and I hope that that will be the same for this year. Then just something quickly on the textbook. You will notice that there is a official prescribed textbook. It's the one that says C++ programming, and it says a UNISA logo somewhere there. But if you struggle to get hold of it, or you can't get somebody that already bought it and has passed the course, then the one where this textbook originally originated from is this green one, C++ programming design, including data structures. So that is just important that if you look for this alternative textbook, that you make sure that it has that wording, including data structures. We're only using the last few chapters of this yellow one. That is actually the chapters that's been captured in the UNISA version. Yeah, so then you've got the complete one. And some of the things that I do prior to the start of your official chapter 17 is actually coming from this yellow textbook. So on the assessment, maybe I can just quickly see this. I see some email chats that I'll just address later. There's somebody says that they were unable to watch the welcome video. That is really crucial. I'll have to check on why that is not working. Yeah, so for the others that's in the big blue button, I hope that we don't have issues with the while you're watching it. But I'm going to continue because there's quite a number of students that do not have issues at this moment. So for the assessment, you've done this. It's in the welcome video. It is in your tutorial letter 101. I can maybe just make you aware of assessment 2 and assessment 3. I will have sessions again during the year, and you'll see if you go onto the module website that I've already indicated when the next webinars will be. But assessment 2 and 3 will be what we call peer assessments. If you haven't done it before, it's quite fun. And then assessment 3, I said there it's going to be a peer assessment with a twist. We're going to use some AI. You're going to use it, and we're just going to play around with that. I think it's going to be quite fun. Then something that I just must make you aware of is that for us from this year onwards, for all undergraduate modules, a 40% sub-minimum year mark is required, meaning that for your average between your assessment 1, 2, and 3 for this module, you must get a minimum of 40%. If you do not get the 40%, then you will not be allowed to sit for the exam, and the exam, then you fail the module. And as you are aware now that the exam will consist of 2 marks. The one will be a practical project. We'll get to that later on. And then there's a quiz exam that you're going to complete. That's based on all the work that we've done this year. And then the ratio between the year mark and the exam mark is 20/80. And your exam mark you will only get a final mark if the mark for your exam mark, that is now between the practical project and the quiz, if that is 40% and above, in other words, you pass the exam with, well, not pass, but you got the minimum of 40%. And then based on that, if everything and all the calculations are done, you've got a pass mark of 50% or more, then only do you pass the module. This module actually has quite a high pass rate. And I think that is because you have to put in a lot of your own work, and your own initiatives comes into play. So all in all, the overall pass rate for this module is rather high. I see. Okay. Any questions on this before I continue? I don't see any hands. All right, but you're still welcome to put into the chat. Oh, there's one. Yes, I can't see who it is, so just speak.
Okay. On the sub-minimum of 40%, is that the total of all the projects plus the quiz, or how does it work? Is it 40% for each activity, that is each project and or quiz?
I was actually wondering whether somebody's going to ask that question, so I created this spreadsheet just for an example. Let's say you got above 50% for all your assessments. So this will be a project, and this is the quiz. That then calculates to your year mark. Now, remember the year mark is each of your assessment contributes 25% to your year mark. So then the year mark for this specific individual was 60%. He submitted his final practical project. He got that, and he wrote the quiz exam. So the exam mark, which is calculated as 40% practical, 60% exam, gives him then exam mark of 54. So in this instance, this person passed. If I look at his year mark, I look at his exam mark, which is 40% or more. I calculated 2, and his final mark is 50% and above. So he passes, there's no issue. When I look at this specific individual, so he's got the same assessment marks. He's got his year mark is 60%. He's fine. He can go into exam, but he did not submit the final practical project. But he got 50% for the quiz exam. But because there's a ratio here of 40-60%, for the exam mark, his exam mark is then 30%, which is below 40, so he fails. Doesn't matter what the calculations is, because this mark is below 40, he fails. This student submitted 3 of the 4 assessments. So if I calculate 25% of that, plus 25% of that, plus 25% of that, I get to a year mark of 22.5. Because it's below 40, he immediately fails. Okay, he does not get entrance into the exam, he fails. This guy got the same as this person here, the same marks, assessments, looks good. His year mark is 60, he can go into the exam. He got a very good mark for his final practical project, but the quiz exam, he's got 20. So if I take 40, 60 here, he gets 36. Because this is below 40, below 50, no? Yeah, below 40. the exam mark is not calculated. Doesn't matter what year mark he got, and he fails. This guy passes. He's got a year mark of 45. He submitted the final project, got 50. He wrote the quiz for 44. So everything is fine. His exam mark is 46. I can use it to calculate his final mark, but when I calculate the final mark, that is then below 50, and that's the reason why this guy fails. Remember, this is now 2080, but you can see it. Both is below 50. It's not going to be a 50 plus. This guy did average during the year 40, 40, 40. Year mark is 40. Okay, he's got 40, so he can write or submit for his final practical project, and he can write the exam. And then when you work out this, you actually get a 50% exam mark, and calculated everything together. This guy actually, I think if my calculations were correct, he will actually pass. So that is just to give you an idea. I think, no, it's one of the other modules where I actually asked the students, no, it was in your module, COS 2611, to go and write the little program to do this calculation. So you can go and check it yourself. I see here's a question. How is the practical component of the exam conducted? Is it conducted similar like the formal exam live with IRIS? No, or more like a take-home exam. So the final practical project is similar to your assessment 1, 2, and 3. It's a project that I will give you. You're going to complete it. You submit it. There's a cutoff date. I mark it in, and that is conducted before the quiz exam. The quiz exam is an IRIS exam. And then I just take that mark that you got for the final practical project. And it's one of the questions in the quiz where I say, there's a space there for me to upload your practical project mark, and it contributes to the final mark. So the final practical project is an individual work. And I'm very, very strict on that. I have written my own program where I actually check your code against each other, which works out for me a percentage of similarity. And so that will be your, it's a project that you're going to do it on your own, but you'll see how we're going to do it. There's nothing funny or sinister about it. You'll be quite used to it by the time that we get to the final practical work. Each of these assignments is actually a little assignment on its own. It's not like in a portfolio where all of it builds together until you get to your final practical project, although the final practical project will be of such a nature that you can go and decide what you want to use of all the data structures that we have learned during the year. You can then apply it to your final practical project. But I give you the requirements, the specs, so everybody does the same for the final practical project, but you'll have some new way in how you want to do it. Okay, Kabela, I'll come to your question when I go on.
Just a follow-up on the examples, if you don't mind. If you take line 4 or even 5 for that matter, if, for example, you got for any of the assignments 30% and the total year mark is greater than the 40%, is that okay?
Yeah, because they're all added together and divided by 4.
Okay.
So if you miss out one, let's say the guy got here 80, most probably he'll then be 40% and above.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
Oh, well, this guy, the 48 is because there's some leeway in the where they calculate the mark upwards. That's why this guy passed. But we don't want to go on a 48 because that might be problematic. So we always try and get a final mark of 50% and more. But you'll get to this very easily. Last year, the students did not have an issue of getting the 40%. They did very well in the year. They did very well in their final project and the exam. So as I said, the overall pass rate is high, but that is because we work hard during the year. Okay, I'm going to continue. I see there's chats going on. I'll try and answer them at the end if I can't do it now. Okay, so your first assessment is due on the 18th of May. Now that means that is the time when you have to submit it. That is not, the 18th of May is not the date when you have to start working on it or try and figure out where the assessments are. That is the day on which you have to submit it. Okay, so take into consideration everything that can happen. You're quite used to UNISA now. There could be, UNISA could be down. You can experience internet issues, load shedding, and we hope not the last one, that your PC crash. So I'm very strict on the due dates, but there's another reason for that, and that is because, as I've said, I take all the codes and everything that's been submitted, and I run it through a program that checks for similarities. So last year, unfortunately, I do not know whether the students are in the class again. There were students that made use of a ghostwriter. That means I contracted somebody. I managed to find the person on the internet as well, who said that they will write the assessment for the students. But yeah, for whatever reason, they all submitted the same assessment. I guess that guy got tired for doing individual assessments, whatever, or they didn't pay him enough. I don't know. But they have learned nothing. And they failed at the end of the year. I actually checked their progress. So it is your responsibility. You are in this module because you want to be in this module. Learn from it. If you don't get 100%, you get 80 or 60%, at least it's your work. You know what you've done, you've learned from it. And the assessments are not that difficult. They are really there to test you, but to also give you an opportunity to grow. So that is the first assessment. Then due date is the 18th of May, and it will open the 1st of May. The reason why I have an open date is a number of reasons, but the one reason is that it forces you then to go back to the system to upload your assessment. I'll send out a reminder. You don't have to worry. But you then have between the 1st and the 18th of May to upload your assessment. If you feel you want to go back and update or work on it again, you're welcome. Then you have some time between then and the 18th to work on your work. So that's basically why I have this between two specific days that you can work on your assessment. Then you would have noticed, as for some, I think it's going to be frustrating because I actually forces you to work through some of the steps so that I make sure that you don't get into assessment 1, but you haven't done the prereq works. Just give me a second. Apologies for that. We've got a thunderstorm that's coming on and the dogs are outside and they are now not happy. I just opened for them. So that's what I want to say about the assessments. Then, when you want to work on your assessments, you first have to work through the classes, etc. And you'll notice that I have actually, when you open class 1, you'll see that I don't immediately jump into chapter 17, and because that's a chapter that we have to start working on. I started by working with linked list and then data types. It's just to give you some background again, because I know some of you haven't done your first year in the last year or two. So this is just to give you some background, and then we start with chapter 17. But a lot of what you do here in links list is of importance before you can start with chapter 17. For those of you that bought the other textbook, not the one that is customized for UNISA, you will have this information in your textbook, but not everybody has that textbook. And yeah, this is just where I tell you exactly. So when you work through the classes, you'll see that I tell you what to do and what not to do, etc. But you can't come to the classes before you have watched the welcome video and you've completed that little quiz, and then you can start with your classes. Okay. Before I continue, anyone that would like to ask a question here, you will just have to unmute yourself because I can't see if somebody put up a hand. I don't know how that works. I'm supposed to see it, but I don't know where to watch. I can't, nobody? All right. Okay, I'm going to continue then. So chapter 17, that's the nice things that we're going to do, stacks and queues. Please work through the lessons, work through your textbooks. Please do the exercises. When you get to the self-assessment, please go and do the self-assessment. That will help you. I'm not going to give you a full lesson on it. I think it's really self-explanatory. Stacks and queues, that's actually quite the fun part with data structures. So when you working on your assessments, I do describe to you in the class how you should install the IDE, which is Visual Studio. There's a hand. Oh, okay, there I can see the hand. Asitandile, yes.
Afternoon, ma'am. I just have a query regarding the welcome videos. I watched both of the welcome videos, but now when I try access the class one, it says that it's not available. Did I miss something from the videos, or
What does it say +1? I'm missing now something.
on class one, it says not available unless you achieve higher than a certain score in welcome videos. But so
yeah,
I'm not
you
sure.
must get. I think you must get 80% or something for the 2 quizzes or for the quiz.
All right. Okay. Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's stupid. I know it's stupid, but it is really the only way that I can really check that somebody watched the videos is to just go and see that. That's why the 80%. But you'll get that. I guess if you really don't watch
thank
it,
you, ma'am.
please do. Okay, then Makudu. Oh, there's another one. Makudu, Kabelo. You would want to try and speak. Let's see if that works. Not. Mhlengi, Mabasu.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Afternoon.
Yes, no, I just want to find out whether do we have class sessions and webinar, or this is the only meeting that we get the opportunity to learn about this module.
No. How do you mean? The 2 welcome videos is also introducing to the module. Then you've got this webinar, and then I'll have another webinar just before the assessment 1 due date. So if there's any more questions specifically on the assessment, then I'll do that. But we'll have sessions during the year, if that's what you're referring to, or am I understanding the question?
Yes. So I just want to find out whether do we have classes like it. Maybe
Yeah,
one of us.
but not like me standing in front of a classroom and giving you a lecture. Okay, that's why I've got the
No.
lessons. Okay, so
Yes.
just that's the only thing, because I think the lessons, and there's some in some of the lessons I have videos that I demonstrate things, and I think I can do so much more in the lessons than I can do in this session. Okay, so that's why you have to work through the class, and before you can get to assessment 1, you must work through it, and you must work through your self-assessment. Only then can you get to assessment 1. So it's just some building something.
Okay, so is the quiz based on those 2 welcome videos marked?
Yeah, it's marked, but automatically marked. I don't mark it. It's an auto grader. So you must just get 80% and more for, I think it's 80%. It's just checking whether you've really watched the videos. It's got some questions on basic stuff in the course. There's no content. It is, the questions are based on the welcome video, where I tell you a lot of things about the module. So that's what the welcome videos are. It's nothing strange. Just me to make sure that you actually watched it. Just quick. Just go and watch them and answer the quiz, and then you can continue. Okay. Let me just see. There's some questions here. I watched the videos, but I can't see the quiz. Okay, I'll open the module site now, and then we can just go and have a look. There's somebody, is chapter 70 to 21 for the whole year? That is correct, yes. That is the, you see what happened was that alternative textbook, the green one, was originally prescribed, but then UNISA said no, because we're only using the last part, the data structures part, we cannot prescribe that textbook. Now that was long before I inherited the module. So then they decided they'll have a UNISA version. They often do that at universities to create one specifically, but in this case that one is now seems to be going out of stock, and they're not going to reprint it. So I decided, let me tell you where it is. That is where it's been coming from, and then you've got the whole chapters, but the whole textbook. It seems anyway that textbook is cheaper than the customized version, and it is in an ebook format. So please do make use of that ebook format, and we can save a couple of trees. I'll come back to this question. Are we allowed to use a stack STL library? Okay, maybe I should do that now. Yes, you're allowed to use a stack STL library, because in the textbook they show you how to build it yourself, but when you get to the assessment and you understand the work, you're welcome to use your own or create your own classes. The only thing is that when you set up your IDE, I prefer that you use Visual Studio. Make use of the latest C++ standards. Make sure that your settings is set to C++ 20 or later. If you're unsure how to do it, I'm just sure if you Google it, you'll find out how to do that. What is the other thing is, please make use only of the standard libraries. I know that there's a lot of other libraries available, but I don't necessarily have access to it. I try and work on the standard libraries, and because you're only allowed to submit one .cpp file, you cannot create your own libraries and upload that. Then when you're going to submit your file at the end for assessment 1, you're going to save it with your student number _ assignment1.cpp. Don't stress too much about it now. I'm just mentioning it here so that it gets stuck in your head somewhere. We'll go through that again when we look closer to the assessment. And as I said, I'll have another follow-up a webinar with you before the date that you have to submit your assessment. Then I'll definitely, make you aware of this again, that I prefer that, no, not prefer. You have to submit it in a specific format. And that is because, again, I have my own system that I wrote that I use to mark your assessments. And it must be in this format. Otherwise, I struggle. Again, I think that you're quite aware of your student number name should be as part of your coding. I talked about the standard libraries. And it must just, this I actually think copied from the Moodle page. So just make sure that you adhere to that requirements. Mr. Mabaso, I see your hand is still raised. Is that an old hand? I think it is.
Yes, I will say.
Okay, just waving it for us. Zamandlela Dlamini. You can unmute and speak. Okay, while we wait for Zamandlela to unmute, I'm just going to continue. So you'll see with all the assessments, except now the quizzes, I have a rubric that I use to mark your assessment against. Now, because you have some leeway in for the assessments, there's not always one correct solution. There are definitely incorrect solutions that somebody might submit, but I look at what you've done. I look at how you've done it. I always have some additional functionality, a bonus, a mark. So I always use a rubric to mark your code against. And so you can almost kind of mark it yourself beforehand to see what kind of mark you're going to get. So please make use of the rubric. It will, just help you in before you submit. Let me just say, Zamandlela, do you want to see if you can unmute and talk? Okay, the hand was put on. Okay, Kwezi Mkhize.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Afternoon.
I just want to check code blocks. Is it okay if one makes use of code blocks? Because I think for the I think for the first year we were using code blocks. So
yeah, well, you can, but why not try and venture on something new that is maybe more industry related? But I'm not going to say no for code blocks. Last year, a couple of students still used it. So I'm not going to say no. If you're used to it and you're used to the environment, you can do that.
thank you, ma'am. Sure.
Okay.
Sorry, I hadn't allowed my mic to be used in the...
Okay, go ahead.
I wanted to ask about the first 3 lines part. Are you saying within the code we write our name and student
Yeah.
number? Or...
Yeah. Just your student number and your name. You can maybe the assessment, say COS 2611 assessment as well. But it's very, very important that you identify yourself in the code. This is you and you wrote it. Yeah, as a comment, so you're just going to put 2 stripes there and put in your own student number name.
Okay.
Okay, Spielman. Mandilakwe Spielman, would you like to unmute and share your ideas?
Hi,
Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay. So I just wanted to ask about this thing, single CPP file only. I just wanted to ask, so we can't do that thing of abstraction where we write our own header files. So everything, like all the classes that you create, need to be on a single file, even if it's like a long CPP file.
I know it becomes messy, but yes.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, you'll manage. Tego Moshope.
Good afternoon. I would like to ask about the first 3 lines of the student name. Do we use comment or the standard C out to write out our name?
Comments. But you can, if you want to print it, you can do that as well. But at least comments. I must, when I open your file, I must see, because I matched the two. I matched the name of the file, your student number underscore assignment 1, with the student number inside, just for myself to double check that I've got the correct student.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, I've spoke about the rubric. Okay, before I get to the project overview, I'm just going to go quickly through the chats. Okay, I spoke about you're not going to submit PDFs. It's .cpp. The due dates for the assignments. The easiest place where you can see the due dates, if you open your the My UNISA page for this module, and you go to, is it now schedule or there's a link. But the moment that you open it, you can see everything for this year. It includes when we have webinars, when the assignments are due, what has to happen next. So all of that is in the on that site. And I guess then maybe you haven't watched the welcome videos. Then there's a question on the group assignment works. Are we going to work in groups? No, that group assignments is actually not so much in this that you're going to work as a group. You're still going to submit your own assessment, but then you are actually going to assess each other's work, because I think you're in such a space now in second year that you can actually critically engage with the work of another student and assess that. But I'll give you specific instructions. Somebody's yeah.
I wanted to ask on the assignment 1, you said that we should send one CPP file. During previous assignments from different modules, I've seen that they ask you to send a folder with screenshots of you running the program or things like that. Do you want that also in the assignment 1?
You're only going to submit the .cpp. I physically run the code and make sure that it works.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, the IDE we spoke about. You're still allowed to use code blocks, but I would prefer if you use Visual Studio. Then somebody mentioned here Chrome. Okay, 70 to 21 chapters. We've answered that. Stack library. I'm not sure about where do we see the mark. I think that was for the quiz. It actually pops up. Ma'am, so we can't do parallel compilations. Okay, I answered that. I only want one.cpp. Okay, we've got the 3 lines. Comments here. Somebody answered that. Oh yeah, there's a very interesting one, Tandi. Do we get any help with the actual content? No, we don't have e-tutors anymore. Okay, so UNISA has decided as from the beginning of this year that we don't have e-tutors. What I rather do is, but I've done it last year as well, I had an excellent e-tutor last year, is that if there's something comes up that I really see you start to try, get into a tight knot, I look at the discussion forums, and if I see that there's something that's really bothering, then I'll have a meeting. We'll schedule a meeting, and then not necessarily that everyone is going to attend it, but then those that struggle with it. But that is why I'm going to have a webinar before the submission for assessment 1. I think it is if I'm not mistaken, it's in 2 weeks' time or something like that. No, I'm lying. It is 2 weeks before the due date. Then you can, if there's still something that you're really bothering you, you can come and do that. But I hope that the lessons should be sufficient. I think that everything that we do there and what I show you there is what I require of you in the assessments and for the outcomes of this module. Okay, I spoke about the PDF. Not sure what the My Admin. Oh, I'm not sure what that is. Do we only type our assessments? Mosima, I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about there. I think it's maybe the same with the PDF. But it's a CPP file. Obviously, it's text that you're going to submit. The files are very small, so you don't have to stress about uploading. We're only focusing on units 17 to 20, except now that little part with the linked lists. When does class 1 unlock? As soon as you have watched the videos, you've completed the quiz, class 1 unlocks. So it is dependent on you when class 1 unlocks. All right, then if you had time to have a look at the project, you'll see it is a warehouse order dispatch system. I give you the specs in assessment 1 that you can already see. So when you open assessment 1, you will be able to see the requirements for the project. And you will also see that it mainly focuses on queues and stacks. It's a warehouse order handling project. I take you there step by step through what is required. It's a kind of a simulation, and you're going to use some randomly generated data as well. And yeah, I don't want to say too much now because I want you to first work through class 1 and then work through the self-assessment, and then when you get to assessment 1 that you can start to read through that project. Take your time to read through it, to process it. It basically tells you exactly there what you need to do when you have what you have to do, and I think I also give you a small. You can download a kind of a pseudo program where I tell you what must happen in the project at which stage. But don't stress, it's not that difficult. You might just need to understand how your stacks work and queues work before you can attempt the project. As soon as you do that, then you'll be able to understand what you have to do here. Let me just see, there's some more questions with regard to the C++ standard library. If the IDE doesn't have 20, it goes up to 17. I think that would be okay. I'm quite aware that CodeBlock doesn't go up to C++ 20. I'm not using some of the latest stuff in version 20. So 17 and even 15 will still be fine, but don't go to a very early version of C++, then you're going to run into problems. So is assignment 1 the project of the warehouse? Yes, you're correct. So that is the project. That is the one that you're going to submit for me. As I said, and I give you some example of what the output will look like. If you really get stuck and you want me to have an intervention before this next webinar, then I can do that. But I don't want to teach you how to do it, because I think a lot of this has to do with you interpreting the question, being able to make sense of it, and to start working with your stacks and queues to get to a stage where you can implement the code to do the simulation. And I think when you start to work with it, and this is now from feedback from the last year students, is then they start to understand how it works. Only then. It is not something that I can just teach you. Yes, I can teach you and I can tell you what to do, when, but that's not the reason why you're doing this project. And that is why I give you more than enough time. And it's only this one for your assessment one. This is the project that you do, but it covers basically everything that we do for class 1. Yeah, so we're going through queues and stacks, simulation, etc. This I can preach to you about this, but I guess you are a computer science student. Don't try to do everything at once. Build your queues first, add your order generation, add your processing logic, implement your stacks and the stacks for your trucks, and then work on the output. So the output is important, but that is not the most important thing. The thing is that you understand what's going on. But yes, when I mark your project, I compile it, then I look at your output. If the output is 100%, you've got all your marks. If 90% of the marks, I still go into your code to check that you've got comments in, that it is the logic flows, that is neatly written. But that is that is how I mark your assessments. If it doesn't work, then I obviously have to go back and I start from the other way around. And now I go through your logic and I see where you got stuck. And based on that, I will then give you a mark. Aisha asked the question, is assignment based on chapter 17 stacks and queues only? I think so. I can't remember that it's asking something from something else. I can't remember, but you have got to understand your list and your pointers and stuff. If you've got problems with that, you might have to go back to your previous C++ training just to make sure that you understand that. So it built on everything that you've done up till now on C++. That you need to understand. I'm just taking off from where you left off. Yeah, as I said, I give you some pseudocode that you can work with. It's just to start with. You can just download it there from additional resources. I hope it will help you. Oh, yes, an example actually where I show regarding the, if I can enlarge it away. This is just where you will add your name and your student number. You can say you just comment it in, and then the rest of your coding. But this is in the, so don't stress about it now. This is about when we get to that space where you have to submit it. But from the beginning, just make sure that you've got your name and student number in your code. It's really annoying if it's not there. Then I'm not sure whether it was you that did the work. So what is next? You've got to complete your class 1, your self-assessment. As I said, there will be another webinar. And yeah, then when you're done, you're going to complete and submit your assessment too. And you can immediately start then with the next class. Some advice. Start well in advance. I have to give you to this because I'm the lecturer. So I'm just telling you, start well in advance. Work through the classes and lessons. That's really very important. Try to think out of the box. You're allowed to talk to each other. I don't have anything against that. But do not consult somebody to write it on your behalf. You're going to fall into a pit and I will not be able to pull you out of that. And you've wasted your money, you've wasted your time, you've wasted my time as well. You're welcome to search online for solutions. Now, you are allowed, this is a very important thing, you are allowed to consult a Gen AI, but you need to tell me where you've used it. You need to interpret it. I will get to a space, one of the assessments, I think it's in class 2, where I will, as I said, give you a class on how to do what we call explainable AI. Now, it is more than just putting in suitable comments in your code. Explainable AI is a little bit broader than that. But should you use an AI tool to help you, use it as your companion or your co-code writer. Do not let it write the code on your behalf. I will pick it up. But I cannot say to you, you're never, ever going to use it, and I'm not going to allow you to use it. I mean, that is something that I know I cannot ask of you. So it is there. You are allowed to use it, but use it in a responsible way, and do not fall into that bit that it writes the code on your behalf. You're not going to learn anything. And at this stage, for this module, you still have to learn. I know as you continue and you're working in your workplace, you use it, you use Claude or Gen AI or what code or whatever you're going to use, Copilot or anything. But now for this module, you still have to learn the basics. So from that perspective, do not allow it to write the code on your behalf. Ask it for assistance, but it's your responsibility to still write it. So that is just my 2 cents on Gen AI. All right. Okay, so we had questions in the discussion, but you're welcome to ask questions. We still have a few minutes. So all we did in the first year C++, I can't read the complete questions, but basically everything that you've done before, you just continue. I think that's why I've said you must W3 Schools is also a very good space to go and have a look at C++. But I'm not here to test your syntax necessarily. I'm not going to say, how do you produce output to the screen? I assume that you know that by now. My thing is that I want to see that you can implement your knowledge that you've learned on stacks and queues. All right. So from that perspective, that's what you've got to demonstrate to me, not whether you can now write a little C++ statement. If the system fails and you do not know how to solve it, go and search for a solution. Okay, so the main thing here is not to learn your C++, although that is the programming language that we use, but it is to get you to understand data structures and how to apply it in situations. This is just a study plan that I think I've had to move it actually earlier in the presentation, but here it is. This is what we do. We covered chapters 17 to 21. All right, so as I said, you're welcome. I think this chat now closes after the session. So it's not like in Teams where you can now continue to chat. I think it works like that. So you'll have to go to the discussion forum or email me directly. And if I think it is something that needs to be discussed with the whole class, I'm going to take it back to the discussion and then share the information there. There's Visual Studio and Visual Studio Code. Which one to use? Well, the one that's been described is Visual Studio. I'm not exactly sure what Visual Studio Code is. If you use code blocks, you want to continue with it, you're welcome. Oh, so you did stacks in the first year. Good. Then you won't have an issue with stacks. There is Mr. Spielman, your hand is raised.
Can you hear me now, ma'am?
Yeah, bo.
Okay. So I just wanna know with regards to like the assignments where we do the code, are we required to sort of write some sort of pseudocode in comments before writing the actual code that is being compiled, or are we just
Yeah.
gonna write the
Yeah.
code just directly?
No, you can just write the code. I don't expect of you to use the pseudocode. You're welcome. You know, if it's for yourself that you can afterwards go and have a look at it again, of course, you're welcome to do that. You must put in comments, you know, that I know what you're doing and why you're doing it in a specific part of your code. That goes without saying. And I think actually that's part of the, I can't remember which slide it is now. That is, there is a mark for that. Yeah, code quality, proper structure, commons, modality, and readability. Okay, it's not a lot of marks, but yeah, okay, the codes and stacks, there's not so much, but you need to put in comments at least so that I can see that you understand, or specifically if you use something, let's say you create a struct, then you can maybe just in your comments indicate to me the purpose of that struct. Okay, if you use another operating system, let's say it's not Windows that you're using, but you use either Linux, okay, or Apple. A lot of students do have Macs. It's not a problem for me because you're going to submit the .cpp file. The only thing is, please use the standard libraries. Then there's no problem. I've marked quite a large number of code that was generated on Apple Mac. In that environment, I think that is where the Visual Studio Code maybe comes in. Really, you might just give me an indication. But I did not have any issues in compiling it and running it. Okay, people, it's now our session, so I'm going to stop the recording. I want to pause the recording.